In this module, we are going to learn about if functions. Now, if function is a conditional function. This function executes based on certain conditions. Now, what we need to do is that if you look at this if function syntax, it takes three parameters or three arguments. The first argument is the logical test. Now, logical test is any value or expression that can be evaluated to true or false. That means you need to give an expression here in the logical test whose result would be either true or false. If the result is true, then value if true parameter would execute. If the logical test is false, then value if false will execute. So based on the condition of this logical test, based on the value of this logical test, whether it is true or false, a true part will be executed or false will be executed. So let's look at a very simple example first, and then we might go to a bit complex one. Now in this case, we have a payroll. We have some last name, first name, and the hours they have worked on a particular project or they have worked on something, their rate of pay, and the gross pay. So basically the gross pay would be is equal to number of hours worked into rate, that is the rate per hour, and enter. And you drag. Now the management wants that a remark should be given in this table. And the remarks is that anybody who gets more than 500 or more than 600, for example, if anybody gets more than 600 as the gross pay. Now, for example, let me call this, go to the format cell, and let me put it's accounting, and let me put the symbol as dollar. Right. And similarly, I can give the formatting here. Okay. So I want that anybody who gets a pay of $600 and more should have a remark high, else it will have low. Now, how do I print that? Now, to do something like that, I would require the help of this if function. So let's see. So I can do it in two ways. One is I can directly type here, or I can use the formula insert function. Logical if, logical or conditional, whatever. If, let's say logical test, and say okay. So you'll get this function palette, and on this function palette you will have all the parameters which you can set. So here I will select this, pick up my logical test. In my logical cells I will say gross pay. If it is greater than equal to 600, then if it is true, it should print high, else it should print low. So that's simple, right? So let's analyze this. So it says that E14 is this. If it is greater than 600, equal to 600, it should be high, else it should be low. So I'll say okay. It says high because it's more than 600. And if I drag it down, it's low. So these are all low, these are high. So these are the people who are getting high salaries or high payout. And these persons are one who are getting low because they are less than 600. So this is how you can do the if function. So if functions basically takes three parameters. One is the conditional or the logical test. And based on the logical test, if it's true, it will do this, or it will print this, or do any expression. And then if it is false, then it will print this, display this, or if there is any expression, it will evaluate that expression. So let's do a bit of a complex one now. So I'll just delete this. And here I will find out the gross pay. Now finding out gross pay this time is not that very simple. They have given us a rule. The rule is that employees are paid 1.5 times more for hours in excess of 40 hours. That means if any person has worked for 40 hours and below, then they will get the rate what they have, which is fixed. Now anybody who has worked more than 40 hours, like this person, he will get the first 40 hours at this rate and the next 8 hours at 1.5 times more rate than that. Then how will I calculate the gross pay? Now that's a very good example where I can use if to do it. Now how will we do it? Now what we'll do is we'll select this, we'll say is equal to, or we'll go here. And say insert function. Now you will see the insert function here, which is the whichever is the normal. If the functions which are used often, they come here in this box. So I'll select this and say okay, and say logical test. So I'll say logical test is, what is the logical test? So first logical test is, if I want to select this is less than equal to 40. If it is less than equal to 40, then the answer is very simple. Then it is the pay is this into this, simple. But suppose it is false. Suppose it is false. That means it is more than 40. That means the first 40 hours, that means the first 40 hours would be multiplied by this rate, plus the balance 40 hours, that means this hours minus 40. So that will give me the balance 40 hours would be calculated as 1.5 times that of my rate. So look at this formula first. So first, if I just put a bracket to make it more clearer, though not required. So this is the first 40 hours. So this person has worked 48 hours. That means first 40 hours, $15. Next 8 hours, that means C14 minus 40. That means 48 minus 48 would be given at a rate of 1.5 into D14. So 1.5 of D14 into the number of hours worked. Okay. Now in this case, that person has not worked more than 40 hours. So this part will execute. For people who has worked for more than 40 hours, this false part will execute and calculate the rate this way. So look at this formula once, understand it, and then I'll say okay. 610. I'll drag this and this gets 780. So this is how it works. So if you look at this formula, what it does, this calculates 15.25 into 40, that's fine. But this doesn't calculate 48 into 15. It does 40 into 15 and then 8 into 1.5 into 15. And that is how if function works. And that is what is the use of the if function.